On today's episode of I Grew Up in an Actual Dictatorship, so you know you're not in one, I want to show you guys proof and evidence on how our socialist slash communist government handles three facets of our daily life. Healthcare, specifically our cancer patients and how we treat them, mental health institution, how we treat them, and lastly, our quality of life for the masses. Finding out that you've been diagnosed with cancer, it's already a bad news. But that bad news suddenly turns to worse if it happens to be in Cuba, because in Cuba, we have no way of knowing how severe your cancer is. I mean, we do, but those machines are only used for those in the government. So because we don't know on what stage your cancer is, every cancer patient in Cuba gets the same dosage of chemotherapy. This has caused more death than the cancer itself, because many patients that are supposed to be receiving a stronger dosage of chemotherapy don't receive it and still end up dying. But some others, which is the majority, the dosage is too strong for them, and the after effects of them are even worse than the cancer, eventually causing their death. I myself happen to be a social worker here in the United States. I had a member here that was diagnosed with cancer at the same time that her sister in Cuba was also diagnosed with cancer. Although united by the same disease, they were separate, worlds apart, by how they were treated. United States healthcare helped her make a pretty speedy recovery, whereas her sister in Cuba was not so lucky. Losing her hair and losing her eyebrows was the least of her worries. Her private parts were so burned because of the chemotherapy that she couldn't even pee. This caused a variety of disease on her, which eventually ended up causing her death. Because the free healthcare under socialism and communism, when taken to practice, this is how it ended up looking. This is the outside of the operating room. Would you like to see the inside? Listen up, America, because this is your future if socialism, if communism ever arrives to this country. Can you imagine your father being on that bed operating while there is water from the sewer leaking from the roof? But the iniquity of our healthcare system pales in comparison to how we treat our mental health patients. This is Mazorra, our most famous mental health institution in Havana, the capital of Cuba. But your worries and concern by observing how the hospital looks on the outside are only confirmed when you see how they look on the inside. Because their rooms, far from being comfortable, they look more like jails for violent criminals, and they're always locked in these kind of bars. Government treats them as less than cattle, completely stripping them away from their humanity. They bathe them by hosing them down. They don't even go inside the jails. In the rooms, you can see feces on their bed and on their floor. Famine and starvation is so ridiculous that this is how the patients end up looking, eventually passing away. Lastly, the quality of life of our citizens is so horrible that many females are forced to do prostitution. And I'm not talking about adult females. I'm talking about underage girls. When I was in 9th grade, one of my classmates, who at some time was also my sister-in-law, prostituted herself at 14 years old to a Spaniard guy that was in his 60s. Her payment? A discman. The second time